Yeah, let's go to the Kildare Newbridge Municipal District meeting, Clem, that was held last week, and I'm joined on the line now by Social Democrats councillor Chris Pender. Chris, good morning to you and welcome to the programme.
Good morning, Owen, and thank you as always.
No problem. We'll start off with motion 28 on the agenda then. You were asking the council that the municipal district prepares a submission to the public consultation on the Curragh Plains, exploring multiple possible uses such as the development of a greenway that links up with the surrounding towns and villages. What response did you get there, and what did you mean by that motion?
So essentially the original meaning behind this motion was for the municipal district councillors to come together to create a submission for the consultation itself. The reality is the Curragh has been on everybody's kind of tongue for the last while, and especially so when it comes to the pandemic, because it's one of the most amazing resources we've had within our 5K for many of us. And what I wanted to do was to come together to create a submission that we could all get behind. Now listen, we'll all have individual things that we don't agree with, but we can all submit them separately. What I was hoping for is, I'm sure people are aware that the Curragh is a rather special area to a lot of us, especially given the tourism possibilities that are there with the likes of Braveheart Hill, Donnelly's Hollow, and any numerous historic references like the Wrens or anything like that. But it is also an amazing opportunity to create links between our towns. So let's say, for instance, Kildare Town to Pollardstown Fen, or Newbridge, even Rathangan for that matter, or right across to Kilcullen, Brownstown, any of those, and back into Newbridge. It would create a way for us to have cycle lanes or public transport routes to and from these towns without necessarily relying on constantly constantly having to hop into the car to get to and where we need to go. Now, another part of that, I would have been talking about having the likes of designated spaces on the Curragh for people to park up, which my colleague Noel Connolly from Sinn Féin actually raised as well. So it's about using the area effectively, and it's about municipal district councillors coming together and singing from the one hymn sheet to get the Curragh used effectively. Is
there any public transport out there at the moment, Chris?
Well, there's a couple of buses that will get you from Kildare Town through Brownstown and that into Newbridge, but you wouldn't be dropped off
at the Curragh
on the Curragh Plains.
Okay.
There is no public transport to the Curragh Plains. Now, the reality is if we improve our walking and cycling infrastructure from Newbridge to the Curragh Plains, it's not that far of a walk, but it wouldn't hurt for there to be public transport to it. So people with, for instance, disabilities or other issues around limited mobility would be able to avail of the space too.
Right, and very briefly, what response did you get there? Is it looking like you got a positive response or not?
Positive would be maybe pushing it a little bit too far, I'd say. But what I've agreed is I will liaise with the other councillors within the municipal district to pull together a submission that we can work on together. And we'll submit that as one. And again, individual councillors will submit their own, I'm sure.
Okay, you were also asking the council to clarify when the street sweeper will be back in use in Newbridge Town. What answer did you get there?
That it is currently awaiting a repair for a wheel. Now, it's been awaiting a repair for a wheel for quite some time, which is rather disappointing. Now, the reality is the lads on the ground, like as in the actual litter pickers and council staff, they are going around and they are picking where they can. But the street sweeper was back out there yesterday. I know I saw one of the staff members walking around with it, seeming quite pleased with himself, so that there is a positive outcome there. But the reality is, litter pickers will only go so far. At least with the green machine or the street sweeper, you're getting the likes of cigarette butts and stuff like that up before they become a serious issue. I'm a smoker myself, so I'm very aware that there is quite a number of cigarette-related detritus around the town. So it is important that we do get that cleaned up, or more importantly, that people actually are responsible for their own waste, I should say.
Yeah, and finally then, Chris, if we stick with the topic of rubbish, you were asking the council to take over the collection of bins in Liffey Linear Park, including them in their collection route. What response did you get in relation to that?
So this motion came about as a result of excess litter in Liffey Linear Park, and to be honest, it's something that's an issue across the county and across the country, to be fair. where you're having people who are just dumping their litter beside bins. The reason why I brought this up is because at present, all of the litter collection at the time I sent this motion in, I should say, all of the litter collection for Liffey Linear Park was done by Newbridge Tidy Towns volunteers. Now, I don't think people realise that, because any time I hear people giving out about it, they're giving out that the council aren't picking up bins regularly enough in Liffey Linear. But the reality is, this is a group of volunteers in the town who are going down, emptying these bins. Now, the council do provide them with wheelie bins for collection later on, but it is volunteers that are picking them up. And part of the reason why I asked for the council to include this in their route is because it has gotten a bit much. I was speaking to one of the Tidy Towns volunteers, and they had filled their wheelie bins within a couple of days and had in excess, like a serious excess of bags on top of that, which they were storing out the back garden of one of their volunteers. That's just not acceptable, not when we have these services there that should be doing it. Now, part of the response that I got from that is that the Parks Department and indeed the council have actually made an arrangement with Newbridge Tidy Towns that they will arrange for an extra kind of pickup of the bags and bins that Newbridge Tidy Towns collect, which is a positive outcome. But the other thing that I asked for is that when we are doing our review of services, because as I'm sure you're aware, there are staff shortages, I suppose you could say, in Kildare County Council. And one of the things I asked is that when we're doing our review of how those services are distributed, that we specifically take the likes of Liffey Linear Park into account. Because it can't be left up to volunteers. Like, Newbridge Tidy Towns do amazing work, but it cannot be left up to them. We pay our taxes for a reason, and those taxes are supposed to come with basic services. The collection of bins, at least on our streets, should be a bare minimum.
OK, on that note, Chris Pender, Councillor Chris Pender, Social Democrats on the Kildare Newbridge Municipal District. Thanks indeed for joining us on the programme, Chris, and good morning to you.